Because our experience of the world is subjective and everyone is allowed an opinion, it's often impossible to be able to term something the best. We all know Crank, starring Jason Statham, is objectively the best film ever made. But what is the best colour, the best way to prepare eggs, the best 90s cartoon spin-off based on the mild misadventures of a video game protagonist? Quite simply, there are too many answers to those questions for there to be an answer to each of those questions. And yet the question, who are the best club rugby team in Europe, is quite easy to answer. The best club rugby team in Europe is Leinster. And if you don't agree with me, then suit yourself, because here's a clip of them lifting the European Cup, which is the prize given out to the best team in Europe each season. On their journey to the title, Leinster have smashed out the way the English champions, the Pro 14 champions, the defending European champions, the Pro 14 leaders, the top 14 leaders, and a massive bag of money masquerading as a rugby team. Leinster have taken on every challenge presented to them, and have passed them all with an array of flying colours that will make Israel Folau dizzy. So, how have they managed this, and what makes Leinster objectively the best team in Europe in much the same way Crank, starring Jason Statham, is objectively the best film ever made? On the surface, Leinster should not be as successful as they are. Their captain, Eason Afewa, is so old it looks like his skin's made of papaya, and his top speed would be no different if you were doing the limbo. Not that he could manage it though, because his back went in 2014 and he now probably struggles to even get the upholstery cushions back in his sofa. They're coached by a team comprising of the man behind the most high profile coaching failure in rugby history, and a guy with about as much experience of being a coach as a bus making his first long haul journey. And their squad is mostly made of boys from the local area, promoted rather than recruited, which is the same strategy used by the Dragons. Except none of these are actually negatives, because Leinster have always gone with what works rather than what should work. And the Favourite is still putting in man of the match performances between crosswords. This squad just won the Champions Cup, and their coaching team was a stroke of low-level genius. When club legend Leo Cullen, a man whose face is practically a piece of modern art, was appointed head coach of Leinster, it stunk of jobs for the boys. Simply put, there's no way someone with his coaching career but without his playing career would have got that job. And I know that because my uncle Dave also spent 1 year as an assistant forwards coach, and nowadays he isn't in charge of the most successful team in Europe. He's in prison. However, Cullen's career paid off. As a player and a captain, Cullen was never the star. He was a guy who worked hard and got the best out of those around him, and he's become the same as a coach. Because somewhere in the step to professionalism, rugby seems to have adopted the auteur theory from French cinema, credit for a side usually goes solely to the head coach. But with Leinster, the thing Cullen deserves most kudos for is building a team who can do their jobs exceptionally well. In 2016, Cullen appointed Stuart Lancaster. Lancaster is best remembered as the England coach who got them dumped out their own World Cup in the pool stages. A moment catastrophic for England fans, but for the rest of the world it was almost as entertaining as the film Crank starring Jason Statham. However, people forget everything that happened in the 4 years prior to that. Lancaster established a team culture and playing style with England that has very much formed the foundations of everything Eddie Jones has done since, and has hauled the team back to being respectable from the borderline calamity left behind by Martin Johnson. The coaching team split responsibilities between them, taking 2 jobs each. Cullen takes care of the forwards and man management, Lancaster structures attack and defence, Gervin Dempsey works with the backs and gets forgotten by the press. So let's look at what they actually do on the pitch. According to official bullshit, Sonic the Hedgehog was a normal hedgehog who turned blue the first time he ran at the speed of sound. If this is the case, it explains why Leinster play in the colour they do, because their game is all about pace. The game plan is essentially a huge brutal game of bop it, forcing defenders to make decisions quicker and quicker, knowing they're eventually going to slip up and bash their elbow instead of tackling the bop it stick, or I'm not going to lie to you, I don't really remember how bop it worked. This game plan is as successful as it is because Leinster are better than anyone else in Europe at 2 things. The first thing is that Leinster use dummy runners better than any other club side in the world. On any strike move, they invariably have 3 or 4 players running off Sexton, who are all able and likely to get the ball, meaning the defence has to watch all the runners, not knowing which ones are the dummies. I did wonder how Leinster always seem to have so many dummies, but then I realised it's probably just because Rob Carney's bought so many down the years, they've just got plenty in reserve. Now contrast the way Leinster do this to the dummy lines Wales run. Everyone in the Leinster side could feasibly receive the ball, so you don't know who to watch. With Wales, the designated dummy runners are about as likely to get the ball as my uncle Dave was parole after he stapled a man's head to a bench in a pub beer garden. For Wales, it's just about distraction. They might as well put Scott Williams in a silly hat and tell him to do the Macarena. An international standard defence is going to see through it either way. Whereas Leinster's attack is built around options, each player running lines off the next, meaning even if a defence does read the planned play, Sexton could just select another runner and start a different move. It's likely the dummy runners are coached to expect the ball just the same as they would if they were part of the plan. If they don't think they're dummy runners themselves, the defence is all or less likely to do so too. In fact, we probably need another name for dummy runners who don't know they're dummy runners. I quite like Buzz Lightyear runners. If a move doesn't come off for Leinster, it allows them to utilise the other thing they do better than anyone else. The speed of Leinster's ruck ball is insane, and on par with most top tier test sides. In the semi-final against the Scarlets, they went through phases quicker than Marvel Studios will when they hit full cash cow mode. The Scarlets normally play a very effective rush defence, charging in an opposition to reduce their time on the ball. However, as Leinster's ball was so quick, they couldn't even get into position, never mind actually blast their faces. Leinster generated balls quicker than Austin Healey can speak it, and that's thanks to an ingenious use of every aspect of the breakdown. On one level, they're just very good at the basics, but there's also some very smart innovation going on. So, before I explain this, I want to quickly run over what a breakdown is. Upon completion of the tackle, the ball carrier has to release the ball, and in order to do so, they may place it once in any direction. At which point, the opposition may try and steal it, prompting the ball carrier's teammates to go in and protect it. This creates a ruck. Remember that sentence because that's the core of what a breakdown is. So when talking about ball retention, most teams focus on the players clearing out, looking for new techniques to go in and smash. But to go full secondary school English lesson for a second, let's ask ourselves, what was the subject of that sentence? Who was at the centre? It wasn't the players protecting. It was the ball carrier. So Leinster's technique for retaining the ball focuses on the ball carrier, not the players clearing out. So, in this example, when the Fayway hits the ground, he begins to present the ball as per normal, on the side where he fell. However, the first of the breakdown isn't one of the Fayway's nursing home carers, but my personal player of the season, athletic auto-locking octopus, Tyg Byrne. However, as Byrne goes in for the ball, Nefewa, the ball carrier, rolls his entire body, using his one movement to place it on his right. Byrne's octopus targeting system is looking left, but because of Nefewa's roll, he now has to shift his entire body weight to the right side, in which time supporters arrive to remove the 2 of his 8 limbs he shows in public. There's an argument this is double movement and therefore illegal, but no referee is ever going to risk ruining the flow of a game by penalising it. By exploiting this technicality, Leinster have found a way to deny a player like Byrne or James Davis the half second they need to steal the ball. It's actually very simple, but it's undeniably brilliant. A bit like the film Crank, starring Jason Statham. It's possible other teams do this, but Leinster are the first I've seen to do it systematically. It's using every aspect of the play to get an advantage. Rugby intelligence is drilled into this side from the top down. Even Rob Kearney, who looks like he can barely use a toaster, understands complex, innovative parts of the game that are not directly related to his role as a fullback. This ball retention is also at the heart of Leinster's attack. Scarlets are a very able club team, but they were facing a side playing with an intensity they hadn't seen before. Even Saracens, a side who's swum in the big boy pool for years now, couldn't deal with the way Leinster shifted the point of focus at such speed. If you can retain your ball at the pace Leinster do, it gives you complete control of the game. They can either continue to move at a million miles an hour like Jason Statham in the film Crank, or they can use the fact the ball is already secured to slow things right down like I would if ever given the chance to make love to Jason Statham, star of the film Crank. These are but small aspects of Leinster's all-round game. Their passing is accurate, their kicking is intelligent, their set piece is utterly reliable. It begs but one question. It's a question Racing wondered in the Champions Cup final. It's a question Munster wondered last week. It's a question that random bloke wonders as my Uncle Dave staple gunned his face to a bench. The Scarlets are wondering it right now. How the hell do you stop it? It's a question with an answer. But it's an answer that's going to take a whole other video. Oh yeah, this one's a two-parter, just to make that very clear, just in case anyone didn't get that. I know you've got things to be doing, so I don't want to keep you long, but I wanted to quickly say, A, not going to make you wait that long for the next one, hopefully. B, thank you to everyone that signed up on Patreon. I really, really do appreciate it. Some of your names are coming down the side at the moment, not for me because I'm in the real world, but for you anyway. C, thank you to Rugby Warfare, who've offered to sponsor the channel, which is fantastic. And if you want some of their similarly fantastic goods, you can head to their website, have a look around, have a browse, there's some really great stuff on there. And if you did want any of it, you can then use the offer code, which is below in the description, for 20% off, which is, again, fantastic. And finally, I just wanted to end each video now by thanking a few of the patrons in particular, pulling out some at random. So I just wanted to say, Philip Knox, you are a glorious and a beautiful man, and I hope your family are very proud of you. I want to say to Michael Lynch and the Winnetoka Griffins, which sounds a bit like a band that released an EP in the 80s, but it's not. It's a high school rugby team in Missouri. Congratulations on finishing third. Thank you for the things you said about the video, and all the best going forward with the next season. Congratulations. And finally, to the man who registered as marginally erect, I wanted to say that you two made me marginally erect.